Here now with reaction to this news is Dan Mitchell. Dan, the chairman at the Center for Freedom and Prosperity. So we've talked over and over, Dan, about whether or not they could get this done, presuming that what Edward reports is accurate and that they're just finalizing the language and then, they do work it out and eventually do get it passed. How much of a difference maker, in your view, is this trade deal, United States, Canada, and Mexico?
I think it's important symbolically, not economically. If you look at the old NAFTA and this new deal, a lot of it's just rearranging the furniture, rearranging the flow chart. It's probably not a net trade liberalization. That's why the Democrats have been trying to push for all these additional regulatory barriers being imposed on Mexico. They don't want genuine free trade. However, financial markets want to see this thing put to bed. They want one less example of potential trade uncertainty out there. And if this winds up getting handled successfully and finished, even if it's not a great trade deal, maybe it's a sign that will also solve the problems with China.
Are the two related? I mean, that's obviously the way some people think, is that if you can get this through, then maybe it's the first one and then the dominoes start to fall with the biggest one being China. But I mean, they're separate subjects, right?
You're exactly right. They're different subjects, and logically, in my mind, I can't see, why would one necessarily mean the other. But I think financial markets are interpreting it that way. And let's not forget, all this stuff is happening in the context of a 2020 presidential race. Trump wants the stock market to do well. So perhaps he has an incentive, if he gets a good reaction from this Mexico deal, maybe he'll have an incentive, not to throw so many bricks into the China trade negotiations, and maybe we'll get that thing settled. But again, a lot of it's psychology. It's not really economics. A true free trade agreement is one sentence on a piece of paper says, you guys can buy from us and we can buy from you, right, and politicians won't interfere. But that's not what this is.
No, that's not what any of them are, though, to be fair. This day and age, right? And to your point, I mean, if there was going to be a big reaction to this, we certainly didn't see it today in the markets. We could argue a couple of different things. You could say that it's already priced in, for one, and that, is possible. Or maybe your point is right, that it's not as big of a deal economically. I mean, do you think it's incrementally better than the old NAFTA, or that just doesn't matter to you?
If you look at some recent research from the International Monetary Fund, they're saying on net for the three countries, it's a slight positive. Now, I'm normally not a big fan of some of the IMF's work on tax policy, but they always have had a good pro-free trade set of economists there. So this type of research is probably more reliable. But again, in terms of a, $20 trillion economy, if we get $10 or $20 billion of additional economic output, okay, that's great. I'm certainly not going to turn it down, but this is not a game-changing deal. I think the benefit of this thing being finalized is simply that it's no longer on the table. It's not a potential source of Trump sending out some random tweet that gets financial markets all nervous.
As a final point, though, Dan, what would you say about the politics of all of this, the timing happening? The vote on this very well could happen within, days, even hours of an impeachment vote in the House of Representatives, and then of the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, if this happens, pushing forward with this and, running the risk politically of giving the president a quote-unquote win, getting this done. I mean, how do you think it all plays politically on both sides?
Politically, Trump wants it to happen because he can claim a victory, even if it's not big economically. Pelosi has a different set of political constraints. She has a lot of moderate members, the ones who beat Republicans in 2018. They don't want to go into their first re-election battle having sabotaged a potential trade deal that, maybe it's not great for the economy, but the absence of it would be a threat to the economy. And so she, even though most Democrats, I assume, will vote against it, it's the marginal Democrats that want it to happen, and she has to pay attention to them, just in the same way, Paul Ryan and John Boehner had to pay attention to marginal Republicans when they were in charge.
Especially if she wants their vote for something else, possibly impeachment.
Exactly.
Dan Mitchell, good to see you. Thank you, sir. Melissa.
The Dow